is the topic of collaboration. So I'm just going to go ahead, Suzanne, and just start a discussion and open it up, right? And so the first question that we're going to pose on the floor today is, what is strategic collaboration?
Wow. So I want you guys to think about that for a moment. What is a strategic collaboration? And the key word there is strategic, no, Turiya?
Yeah.
Right? And because how many of you have fallen into a collaboration, giving it no thought, and you found yourself in a collaboration that you never planned to be part of? That is not strategic.
Yeah.
Now, what a strategic collaboration in my mind is, Turiya, is when you are intentionally looking for people who have skills
Yeah.
that complement yours. And as I said at the top of the show, one of the things for me was when I coming out of network marketing, I knew I wasn't going to go on this journey alone. Plus, I love team, so I was looking for people I could collaborate with. But I wasn't looking for another mindset trainer. I wasn't looking for another person really in personal development. I was looking for people who had expertise, talents, and treasures that
Right.
I did not possess. So that was kind of where I had my ears and eyes open. The
Mhm.
other thing, which was really key, was I was looking for someone who had similar beliefs and values and who wanted to journey in a similar way to me. Because how you get from one place to another, the energy and emotional space to which you create while doing that is so key. So that's kind of some of the stuff for me. And I was intentional, that's the word. I was very intentional about looking for and finding that. So this is not an accidental collaboration. It is very strategic. So what about you?
Yeah, so and I love that we put the word strategic in here, and we're talking about intentions, right? Because once again, for me, starting out on my journey, I don't think I looked at collaboration or understood really the true meaning of collaboration. And so it's like you're out there as the entrepreneur, and then you're just doing your thing. You meet other entrepreneurs, they're doing their thing, but do you really sit down? And that's the part that I didn't do. I like really sat down and say, oh, okay, what are the areas that need to be focused on in order for my business to grow?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you meet those individuals who can come in and support in those areas, you sit down and then you have a conversation, around that particular thing. And then you put a plan together. So I've heard it, like people have asked all the time, can we do something together? Right? Like I got people in the inbox all the time. Like, can we do something together? Can we do this? But it's like, not really seeing or understanding where it's going to. And I have to be honest, Suzanne, a lot of times it kind of felt like, oh, you know what, if I do this, then it's kind of pulling me away from the path that I'm on. So it's like I had to really get, super intentional about collaboration, and not just that, but the areas that I wanted to grow in, take a look at the people, who are already serving, in that area in their business, and then putting a strategic plan together to make it work.
So I want to go back a little bit because when we're talking about strategic, it may ours didn't start as strategic. And I want to make that distinction for everyone. I had a strategic idea in my mind, so I knew who I was looking for. But you bang into people, you get those beautiful introductions, you get those opportunities to meet people, and I think one of the things that I really want to put out is to pay attention to who you meet,
Yeah.
and so have your strategic plan around who are you looking for to collaborate, and I liken it to this: if you've ever gone to test drive a car. I remember when I went to test drive my Mercedes. It's a silver, well, it's kind of gray silver Mercedes that I own. But however, I went and test drive one, and before I went to test drive them, I rarely ever noticed a Mercedes on the
Mhm.
road. The minute I test drive that car, I saw my car, exact color,
Yeah.
exact make, exact here, everywhere. And part of it was I suddenly knew what I was looking for. I knew what I wanted, I knew what I was looking for, and it kept showing up in my world. Was it suddenly that everybody went out and bought a Mercedes? No. It
Right.
was that I was tuned in to that Mercedes. So when you're looking for a strategic collaboration, the first thing is to actually know
What you're looking
who and what you're looking for.
for.
One is what are their skills, talents, and treasures? And two is what are the values and beliefs that you walk with that they are going to be required to align with? So, Tria, talk about our meeting on the couch.
Oh my gosh. Like one of the most amazing things. So, for those of you who haven't heard the story, like I think at the point that I met Suzan, I was at my wits' end in my business. And it was not a pretty meeting. It was one of those meetings where I was at that point in my business where I was actually up against the wall, and like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe, like, what is it that needs to happen, to shift the trajectory, in my business. And I just remember sitting on our mentor's couch. So Susan and I, we have a common mentor, and we're sitting there, and through the tears, really being honest about all the things that's happening in my business. And what was so amazing to me was to be in a conversation with you, and you saw through all the tears. Like, you didn't look at me and say, this child is a hot mess, I don't want to work with her because she like, clearly she needs to take care of some stuff, right? You stepped in and you said, you know what, the things that you're sharing are the things that I want to do in my business, or some of the things I'm already doing in my
Mhm.
business. And then, so right there at that moment, we realized that, oh my gosh, we got a common vision, right? And then we have common goals. And so the question became, how do we work together, to achieve these goals and work towards that vision faster? And so that was the beginning of our collaborative effort. So what
You know,
was it like for you on the couch?
what was interesting was I came to Lethia's, as I always do, with my list in my head. So as we were talking, um, one was you were a social media strategist, and I was like, "Ooh, interesting. That's a skill and talent I'm looking for." However, as we began to talk, I saw someone who loved to serve and help other people. I
Mhm,
also saw someone who was willing to be honest with me.
mhm.
And so I decided, let me explore this. And I really want to really talk through that. So let me explore it. So Turiya and I actually engaged each other's services. She started working for me, I started working for her. This was the interesting thing, though, that happened on both ends, and was the first clue of a collaboration that a collaboration was possible. One was we both served over and above.
Yeah,
So we were hired for something, and we both served over and above, and we both served freely.
yeah,
The second thing was we both were willing to show up for each other in situations where we saw the other person needed support
yeah,
without asking for remuneration, right? So we were willing to be of contribution with each other. The other thing I also noticed was um, that we both worked with ease and flow and grace with each other. It was simple. It was easy. And when I looked deeper, it was because we had common vision
yeah,
in terms of where we were going. We had a common um, way of how our we wanted to do this. So I am not the burn the candle at both ends, dry myself, married to my business, done that, been there. That was called a job. And I was going to build this on my terms and keep myself healthy and strong. So I had a very clear way of being around that. And Tria was like very engaged in that and fell into line around that. And so we had these common beliefs, values, goals, visions, and we got excited.
yeah.
And so we continue to collaborate, but not in an official way. We just continue to support each other. And she would show up for me, I would show up for her. She'd ask me to do something, I'd be absolutely. And an ease and flow happened. This is what I want everyone to get. I earned the right to collaborate with her, and she earned the right to collaborate with me. And if anyone works with either of us, you know ETR is big for us.
Yes.
And ETR is show up and demonstrate capacity, skills, and talents, and let that talk speak for you. And so that was how it occurred. We knew what we were looking for, and then we watched for those things to show up.
Yeah. And I wanted to go back to something that you mentioned, right? And you used the word remuneration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important for people to have that value alignment. And so, like I said, I've been in spaces where, people talk about collaboration, but the idea of, working together is different. So you have to make sure that you are having those conversations
Mm-hmm.
outwardly, with your collaborators or potential collaborators, so you could all be on the same page. And so you definitely have some people out there that, that's the first thing that they put like as a value is compensation, is money, right? And so if you're not talking that to them in, the upfront in the beginning, and they can't see, like, oh, if I'm going to do this, how am I going to be compensated for this? And it's that's their conversation, like every step of the way, then you're going to have a rub.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I love that you point that out, because these are the underlying things that I think that people really don't have discussions, around to make these things happen. So I love that you talk about that, and it ties right into the value alignment. So are you not only having the conversation about the values, but can people see, your value, the things that you hold dear and the things that you value, and then are you looking, and can you see the
Yeah.
things that they hold dear and value too? And then once, alignment is identified, then things, just becomes a whole lot smoother.
I want to talk about the money for a moment, the money, the investment, the all those things. And one of the things I will say is that money is a difficult conversation.
Mhm.
um Liability is a difficult conversation. Those conversations, conflict is a difficult
Yeah.
conversation. When things go south is a difficult conversation. Ending is a difficult conversation.
Mhm.
And so for collaborations to actually work well, those conversations need to be had at the beginning, right? So, how does compensation work? What's the split? What does the split look like from program to program, event to event, however that looks? You got to have that upfront conversation. And given the split, who does what, how much do I do? Is it equitable in the minds of some of other people? And equitable doesn't mean we're doing the same amount. It just means, do you guys agree that it's equitable? So those are really the really key conversations. Advertising, marketing, expenses, who pays what? Do we split it down the middle? Key conversations. So, what happens when I piss you off or you piss me off? What happens when I disappoint you or you disappoint me? And we've had it all,
Yeah.
right? We've had it all. What does that conversation look like? And how do we go about it? Our rule of thumb, my rule of thumb, which I believe is our rule of thumb, is that as long as we speak honestly to the other person, with the number one goal of leaving the other person whole and complete. And
Yes.
when we give feedback, we also give recommendations. This is what I like to see. This is it's not just dumping at someone, you did it wrong, whatever, and I'm out. It is, we're going to work it through till we have a functional resolution,
Mm.
and I'm going to be in it with you. So, because that's what collaborations are. So I think, when you go into a collaboration, you got to really just don't go in it all rosy and this is fun. ETR, remember, earn the right. And earn the right also means we're going to have some difficult conversations so that we can both show each other that I'm willing to earn the right to
Yeah.
share space with you.
Yeah, and it goes back to the one of the things that I look at. And so one of the big things that I look at is commitment, right?
Hmm.
And it's just like any successful relationship that you have, that there's a commitment that must be made. And so one of the things that I look for in collaborating with others, and this has, served us well in our relationship, the biggest thing for me, are we committed to figuring it out?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think that that's like number one for me. So things are going to come up, challenges are going to arrive, but when they come, is that person going to, cut tail and run? Because and the reason why I say that is, like, I know that, to be me, right? Like, I'm the type of person, I'll hold on, I'll try to figure it out, I'll work through it, what needs to be done, this, and then we're working, I'm always working towards the solution, so giving up and all that stuff is not part of, my vocabulary. And so sometimes it's like, when you meet those people, like, you hit that road bump, and they throw their hands up in the air, and they were like, "That's it, I quit." I'm left like, what happened? I thought we were up to big things. I thought we were doing something. Like, what's going on here? Like,
Hmm.
what? So
Yeah.
that's my big thing. My big thing is the commitment, and the commitment to figuring it out.
Yeah, and that is huge because anybody who's been in this journey knows it's not a easy one. It is a roller coaster. It's a high, it's a low. It's got some dry spells. It's got some tough moments. And are you truly committed to doing all of the above? And doing it, jointly. I think the other one that's really big, and I want to just see what people are saying on this one, is being equally committed to the other person winning.
Yeah.
And we've had some great conversations around that, in terms of, always looking for the win for the other person. So just because I'm winning doesn't mean we're both winning, because it's a collaboration. It's two businesses coming together. It's not two businesses creating one business. It's two businesses in a joint venture, if you will, a JV. And so, um, it is really around, is there a mutual win? And am I willing to hold the space for a mutual win? And we've had some conversations where, we've got to rejig something because both people aren't winning. And
Mhm.
and I think that is really key. Is one is, are you willing to hold the space for someone else to win? Because if it's all about you and it's all
Yeah.
about your win, then you're not in a collaboration,
Right. Right.
right?
And such good stuff. And I love that you talk about the win, and sometimes being able to see when the wins are going to occur. So we'll just go ahead and say that, like, not all wins happen at the same time, right? And I know that that's also another source of friction for people in
Yeah.
collaboration. So can you, like, hold, the space for your partner, like when your partner's time to shine, and your partner is like, oh yeah, this is going well, da 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 da, you don't be salty, in the back, because it's not your time, or it's not your season, or you aren't the lead in this particular thing. And I think that that's really the stuff, Suzanne, that I've seen it and I've felt it, and these are
Mhm.
the unspoken conversations, right? And so to be able to bring it, to the table and say, hey, look, this is what the this looks like, right? And
Yes.
I'm going to hold the space for you, and I got you. And to really know and believe that your collaborative partner, has you. And this is one of the things that I always say about you, and I don't mind sharing it with our super achievers, right? Like, sometimes Suzanne can see a win for me that I didn't even see for myself. Like, how many of you would love to have somebody like that in your corner, somebody like that to collaborate with? Okay, when she comes back and she says, well, and this is how you always do it. Well, I was thinking, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that.
Mhm.
It makes me feel so good to know that you have my back like that.
Well, for me, when you win, I win.
Hmm.
And that's really how I look at it. When you win, I win. When you stretch, I stretch. When you get bigger, I get bigger. And so it's the whole concept of iron start sharpening iron. You
Right.
stretching me, and so for me to hold back something I see, where it's going to have you step into bigger, bolder, better, I'm actually in some ways holding myself back.
Yeah.
Because remember, you started the show by saying we are the sum total of the people we hang around with. So if I just let myself grow and I don't support your growth, your expansion, or your becoming your best self, in essence, I'm holding me back. So for me, it's and of course, me, my brain is always running on to how can we make this better? How can we grow this? How can we expand this? So you get the fruit of that, and some people are like, oh gosh, no, I don't want that fruit. But if you hang out with me, that's how it is. And so it's just the way collaboration works. Is my responsibility to you is to help you grow, and I believe your responsibility to me is to help me grow. And then it becomes so much fun. I want to talk about fun.
Oh yeah,
And
that's my
because we were
favorite topic.
because we were having this conversation earlier, and I was sharing with Turiya that we had been doing
Hmm.
my show on Thursdays for 3 years.
Hmm.
3 years,
Yes.
wow, long time. That feels like a long time to me. Every week for 3 years, and towards the end of last year, I was saying to her, I am bored. This is not fun anymore. I'm struggling to get there. And as soon as I see those signs, I know it's time for me to grow, change, expand, do something different. And so, of course, I put on my thinking cap, because I don't like to. If in my world, if it's not fun, don't do it. That's just the way I walk through the world. If it's not fun, don't do it. Now, it can be challenging. It can grow me. It can stretch me. It can really take everything out of me. As long as I'm having fun, I'm in. So that's how we decided to do a collaboration, because I was like, we need to shake things up. We need to have some fun, and here we are. And so, the other thing about anything you do, including a
Mhm.
collaboration, is
Yeah.
to make a commitment to keep it fun, fresh, evolving, and new.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that was my thought. This morning as we stepped out, I was just like, "Ooh, I'm excited when I do the shows. I get up like early in the morning. I don't even tell people how early I wake up. But this morning I was up like super duper early. The cocks didn't even start to crow yet, and I was up like ready to go. Waiting to have the conversation. So yeah, so it's just a reminder in all that we do and where we're striving to, right? Is to make sure that we're having fun on the journey, because like I think that that's one of the main components that keeps it all together.
So let's talk about so this new show, new
Mhm.
collaboration. So hey everybody, you'll see more of us, same, in the same place. We'll be doing some interviews. We'll
Yes.
be doing some hanging out, like just like we're doing now. We're gonna do our best to bring you some fresh, interesting topics. So hold on to your seats, get ready. So the next thing I want to just jump into, Turiya, is just really talking to people about, how do you know you're a super achiever? Because
Mm.
we titled the people that hang out with us super achievers, and I'm looking at who showed up today, and they're super achievers. And so I want to ask everybody that's listening, that what do you think? Just put a quality of a super achiever in the comment section. I just want to see what people come up with, in terms of how do you know you're a super achiever? What's one of the qualities of someone who is a super achiever? I wonder what we're going to get.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
Oz is saying a super achiever, someone who's resilient. Thank you
I,
so much for that, Oz.
I love it. Oh, there's Yetta. And
Unstoppable.
unstoppable, absolutely. Growing,
Yes.
passionate.
Passionate.
Woo, I like that. Integrity. That's someone
All
who knows
right.
us. We got
We got
another
two for,
integrity.
we got two for integrity.
Oh, these are good. So
Yeah.
so you guys are all on the right page. Oh, tenacious. I love that word, Peggy. Inaction, fails forward. Ooh, very
Ooh.
good. So these are definitely solution focused. These are definitely the qualities of super achievers. So one of the reasons, and it was funny, Turiya, because I was writing, as you know, I've been spending the week writing and writing programs and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And one of the things I looked at was who was our divine client versus our clients who kind of come and go and they like what we do, but who's that divine client?
Mm.
And of course, our divine client, we call them super achievers. They are the ride to die. And I kind of describe them as the first to arrive, last to leave, getter done, resilient, overachiever, loves growth, committed to making their best better, loves a challenge. They want more and they believe that they're often overworked and underpaid. They want it all. They're ready to design their life. They love freedom. That's kind of the super achiever. And they're up to massive things.
I was just about to say all of that sums it up. They are up to big things.
Things, right? And they can't get enough. They are grateful yet dissatisfied. Grateful for all the abundance that they already have and dissatisfied because they've been in one place too long and they're wondering what's next, what else can I learn, what can I do, what's the next breakthrough. That is a super achiever. So when I was thinking and I was looking at the difference between um, people who work with us who aren't super achievers, so they don't end up going on the full journey, and I
Hmm.
realize that there are people who are followers, because I'm writing the leadership training, right? Five
Yes.
phases of leadership. So there are people who are followers, and they're like, "Oh, I like to be on this journey. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do." And then there are the super achievers. And the super achiever looks to the future and says, what do I have to learn to lead this process?
Yeah.
What do I have to learn to design my own life? Where do I have to learn to get here? I got a big idea. I got a vision for myself. I'm up to something massive. And they take on this leadership role in their lives,
Mm.
and they're constantly designing and looking for possibility. And so there is the follower, and then there's the leader. And one of the things I know is I love to lock arms with leaders because leaders become potential collaborators,
Yeah.
right? They become
Yeah.
potential people that I and you can collaborate with. And I know that we have some super achievers in our tribe that we're in discussion of collaborating with. And because they're leaders in their own right, they're here because of our expertise, but they come to the table with brilliance, capacity, and expertise of their own, and they own it. They have a desire for more. So that is a super achiever. And I don't think there's one person who's listening today that doesn't fit that bill. So that's who this
Hmm.
show is for. And one of the things, as you are a super achiever, is to let us know what topics serve you. So we
Yeah.
can either get an interview to make that happen, or we can bring the topic to the table and have a discussion with each and every one of you so that we all learn, grow, expand, and become more.
Yeah, I love it. And so, as you were sharing that, one of the things that came to mind is, a mentor long time ago said inspirational dissatisfaction, right? And that was one of the things that
Yeah.
always Yeah, always stuck with me from time I heard that, probably over, I'm dating myself now, like 20 years ago. Inspirational dissatisfaction. And so like that's the thing, when you get to those moments in your life where you decide that, it's not good enough for you to settle, this is not acceptable, and you